Hi, I'm Mash Bonigala, brand strategist. All right, let's talk about some fundamentals of brand marketing. Typically, I always talk about building a brand, right? So, putting the fundamentals of your brand essence into place, working on your brand story, on your brand messaging, and so on and so forth. Now, those are phase one of having a successful brand. Phase two is, of course, the marketing. Now, a lot of people confuse marketing with sales. Sales and marketing are they're not really interchangeable, but it's a very thin line. It's a blurry line between what marketing can be and what sales is. Now, of course, in this video, we're not going to talk about the differences. I'll probably do another video on that, the difference between marketing and sales and so on. But in this video, I wanted to talk about a few things, 5 things that you can do to sort of get into the right frame of marketing for your brand. All right. So let's look at the first one. People buy in 2 ways: emotionally, it's called system one thinking, and logically, that's system two thinking. Now, what does that mean? What does emotionally mean? Well, when you are faced with a purchasing decision, right? So you need to buy something, or maybe you don't need to buy something, but you are in a situation where you're looking at something that you may buy. Now, the 2 ways. The first is emotional. What emotional means is that when you look at that product or you look at that brand, your past experiences, your biases, your kind of associations come into play. And these could be positive associations or negative associations. Emotions come into play. And you then make that purchasing decisions and you just buy it based on that emotion. That's system one thinking. Now, system two thinking is logical. That means you look at this product and then you're sort of logically thinking through, do I need it? What is the price? Would I get a better deal somewhere else? Um, is this solution the right one for me? So on and so forth. So let's talk about a couple of examples of system one thinking and system two thinking. Emotional thinking is, for example, a lady walks into a fashion store, right? An apparel fashion store. She's browsing through, and then on the table, she sees this beautiful handbag. And this handbag is a luxury handbag. It's just sitting there, just one bag, nothing else. So all the luxury kind of signals are being given. It looks fantastic. It feels fantastic. And then she turns over the tag, the price tag, and it's something quite high. Okay, so the price is really high, something that this lady may not be able to afford. But emotional thinking kicks in. If that brand is Gucci or Louis Vuitton or any of the luxury brands, the lady already has associations with these brands. Gucci, for example, you have the associations of luxury, high end, and the lady would have this idea, this subconscious idea that having that bag and walking around with that bag would elevate her status, her social status, and what people perceive of her, how they think of her, and maybe projection of wealth more than what she may actually have. All these are subconscious associations. They will spring into life. And the price there, even though it is more, it's not affordable, doesn't really factor in. If the lady has a credit card or whatever, she might just buy it. Now that is emotional thinking, right? Emotional system one thinking. System two thinking is the same lady walks into a normal kind of an apparel store, right? Not one of your luxury brands, and there are tons of dresses on hangers. There are heaps of clothes on tables. Some of them haphazard and whatever. It's a normal regular store, right? And then she picks up a bag there, or could be a pair of shoes, and she's looking at the price. The price is not really that high, It's not a luxury high, but it is still a little more. So she then looks at the price and says, oh, this is too high. And then picks up another, and then looks at the price and picks up a third, and so on. And thinks, okay, you know what? Another store down the street may have a cheaper version of the same bag, or or shoes, and then maybe goes out, walks down to that store. What's happening here is system two thinking. Why? Because that bag that she was looking at and comparing the prices did not trigger her emotions, did not trigger associations. The brand did not do that and cannot do that because it is a regular brand, it's not a luxury brand, and so on. So it's very important to understand the emotional thinking and, of course, the system one thinking and the logical thinking, system two thinking. So for your brand, if it's not a premium brand, it's not a luxury brand, then your customers would be doing system two thinking. So they'll be looking at the price, they'll be looking at, and so on. So based on that, you need to think through how your messaging should be. Now, of course, if you're a thrift store or a store that's selling low end apparel and bags and stuff, yeah, there's not much you can do. There's not much you can do. You could, of course, make sure that you're signaling some other things, which we'll talk about in the next couple of points. You can signal those, but let's assume that in your case it's an online website and online store, and you're selling bags. You could have messaging in the right way. You could have this photo of your of your bag, and then what you write there, what you talk about, what you signal can have a lot of impact. Okay, next, tell emotional stories to help with system one thinking. So on your website, on your social media, when you talk about your bag, don't just say, well, we have the highest quality, we use the highest quality leather, or these are, yes, these are important, these should be in the description. But try and get into the mindset of your audience, right? The journey. Now, the many videos that I made about understanding where your customers are in terms of their journey, how to get into their worldview, how to create stories. In this context, let's talk about the messaging pertaining to that particular product. You need to inject emotion into it. What does that mean? Portray a picture of how the consumer or the customer would feel, and how they would look if they had this bag. So almost spelling out and making the audience imagine themselves walking down and the kind of effect it would have on other people. Not in so many words. And you might say, well, Mash, that sounds a little tacky, right? No, it doesn't. This is what big brands do. Don't be shy. Don't be afraid to do it. Don't be afraid to spell out what a customer would feel like when they use your product, the emotional benefits they would get, the perception that they would get. And of course, we're talking about apparel here, right? A bag. For your product, it might be different. Different products, a different kind of messaging, right? All right. Number 3, show genuine empathy for your customers. When you're selling a product or service, empathy is very important, not just as a sales tool, but really as a brand, you should have empathy baked into your core ethos. Now, what does empathy mean here? Empathy means that you understand your customers, you understand their pain and pleasure, you understand their lives, you understand their challenges. So it's not just about just buy my bag or buy my product or buy my service and then give me your money and then, I don't want to know about you. I don't want to think about you, right? No. Empathy goes beyond that, right? So it goes beyond just making a sale. So when you have empathy, when you have genuine empathy, your marketing messages will reflect that you care about your customers. Your packaging will reflect that. Your pricing will reflect that, right? Your guarantees will reflect that. Everything will be baked around empathy. If you can have one core value for your brand, make that empathy. Every brand should have empathy as a core value. I mean, you could call it different words, but at the core of it, empathy, right? Okay. Next, use the IKEA effect. So you know what an IKEA effect is, right? So people tend to like things that they build or make, right? So if you created something, if you put together something, and this is with the IKEA furniture, and people, um, go through this really strenuous process of putting together a piece of IKEA furniture, right? A table, a chair, or whatever. And they go through this. Of course, IKEA is notorious. They've gotten better now, but they were notorious for these cryptic kind of instructions that they would have. And you go through this and you spend half a day putting together the shelf or whatever. And you know what? You're going to start defending that shelf. Let's say it looks ugly, right? And then your spouse, your partner, whatever, your friends, they say, "What a piece of ugly furniture!" Right? You will defend it because you put you actually built it. So you sort of IKEA effect, right? So bake that into your sales process, bake that into your marketing, bake that into your product. Maybe not necessarily that your customers or your audience will create or make the product, but give them the opportunity to be a part of your sales process. So rather than just sell to them, enable them to interact, to engage with your brand, with your marketing messages, with your social media channels, and bring them. And so that then creates this process that when they do arrive at the decision to buy your product, and then of course they make the purchase, it is because they've already engaged. They feel a part of the process. They feel a part of the product. Now, how do you do that? Um, Typically, sales messages are almost like a megaphone. You're standing there with a megaphone and you're like, buy this. Recently, I was looking at a client. So we were creating a brand strategy for the client. And prior to that, we were taking a look at their social media and their Facebook. And post after post is they had these messages, beautiful, don't get me wrong. I mean, they used nice photos and a nice typography, but post after post it was just, come buy our product, become a part of this service. um, Here is a discount, and you should buy this product, and so on and so forth. Now, yes, they may have a few conversions with those messages, and those would be the customers that are already at the end of that customer journey. So they are ready to buy. And I will try and leave a kind of card on this video to check out, a link to another video that I made about the customer journey, a series of videos that I made. I think you will benefit from that. But if you're trying to sell to a customer who is at the beginning of their journey, you're going to lose them, right? And so sales messages that are just purely sales messages are very ineffective because a lot of the people are on the journey but not at the end. So there are only a few people at the end of their journey. Okay, so use the IKEA effect to make them a part of that. So identify and come up with ideas, strategies of what you can do so that your client, your customers, your potential customers feel like they're part of your brand, a part of their product. And this could be something unrelated to your product. This could be, I don't know, some kind of an engagement. So maybe they take a quiz on your website, and then they to know what they are or how they think, something fun, right? Or it could be put your product together. It could be a part of making the product better, so on. Different ideas. Okay, create a strong offer. So the fifth one is creating a strong offer. In a previous video, I was talking about why you may not be getting sales. And one of the things that I emphasized was your offer. If you have a weak offer, you're not going to get any sales. No, and I will explain that a weak offer doesn't mean that it's not a loud offer. So a strong offer is not a loud offer, right? So if you're just shouting about your offer, and that's not a strong offer. What it means is that your offer should be irresistible, right? Your offer should be supported by the first and second point, which is emotion. So you need to engage your audience emotionally to bring them to the offer. And once they get to the offer has to be strong. Don't stack your offer with useless stuff, right? Have a strong offer and support it with a strong guarantee. Stand by your product. Let your customer know that this they will benefit from this product. So having a strong offer is very critical to your marketing and to your brand, because a lot of people spend a lot of time, effort, and money bringing people through the door of their sales funnel to their website. And they have a weak website, weak messaging, probably even ugly website. They lose 50% to 70% of that audience straight off the bat. And the few that do percolate through, they come to the offer. And if you have a weak offer, you lose another 20%. So you're down to about 90, 95%. You've lost all the traffic that you worked so hard to bring to your offer. Because at the end of the day, the entire job of your marketing and sales funnel, everything is to bring your prospect in front of your offer. And then that's it. There's nothing else you can do. Your prospect will then make a decision using either system one thinking or system two thinking to buy your product or service. And if you've done your job well, they use system one thinking, they just buy. You've done your job bad, you haven't done, you don't have a brand story, there is no brand messaging, there is no narrative, you have not built a relationship, a bond with your audience. You bring them to your website looks ugly. There is no, that the messaging is weak. And then of course your product, your offer is weak, lays flat, then you lose that, right? So that is the five kind of, I wouldn't say five techniques. These are just tips on how to sort of effectively market your brand. All right. So, if you have any questions about this, if you have been watching my series and have not subscribed yet, please do subscribe. But if you have any questions, leave them below, right? You can also reach me on Twitter at Bonigala. You can also reach me on LinkedIn. Follow me on LinkedIn, and then send me a message if you have a question. Don't send me a connection, just send me a message. And of course, if you want me to make more videos on these kind of strategies, these kinds of techniques, then let me know and I'll do my best. All right. So till my next video, take care. Always be thinking about your branding, your marketing, and in fact, I'm going to make another video on how to think properly. I think you might find it interesting. But till that video, take care.